Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and this happens to be another episode of my For My Students video series. And this particular video is going to be addressed to Roberto Blake. And why is that? Because he uploads videos giving tips and techniques to help content creators increase their ratings on YouTube. So I want to welcome Roberto Blake to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this particular video. And the first thing I'm going to say is that I recently took a trip to Taylorville, Illinois, and I videotaped their Festival of Lights. And after watching several of your videos, I took some of your tips and techniques and I applied them to this particular video. Now, what tips and techniques did I apply to this video? For one thing, I left an accurate description of the video right underneath it. That was the first thing I did. I also placed appropriate tags on that particular video, just like you suggested. I also took the liberty, I have several Facebook friends, and they welcomed me to promote that particular video on their Facebook pages. They actually shared my video. There is also a Facebook group called Decatur, Illinois Then and Now, and I happen to be friends with them. I actually joined their group, and I placed a hyperlink to my video on their fan page. And some of these tips and techniques that you offered were kind of useful. They really were. Okay? So I started with no views at all, and within 24 hours, I had 22 views. So the tips and techniques worked to some degree. But they were not necessarily spectacular. They were nice, and they did work, but not spectacular. And so therefore, I say to you that although you do have good reasons to not use sub for sub as some kind of a crutch, and I will agree with you on that, I do disagree about not ever using sub for sub at all. And here's my reasons for saying this. Because I have met some very interesting people while doing my particular sub for sub. Now, it wasn't the only thing I did. Okay? To increase the number of subscribers on my YouTube channel on a short-term goal, okay? I had reached 900 subscribers, and I wanted to finally reach 1,000. So I deployed, amongst many tools, the sub for sub. All right? I met a lot of interesting people by doing so. I actually got a couple of them not only to subscribe to me, but also to add my Facebook fan page to them. They actually wanted to join my Facebook fan page. And I actually got one of them to actually participate. Actually, not one now, but two people to participate in my video response wars. So it was not a totally wasted effort. Now, I realize the downsides to sub for sub, and it can be as aggravating as it can be useful. But I did find some benefit to this. Now, I am actually going to follow up with this sub for sub, and you're going to see this not on my main channel. I actually have a second channel, and I'm going to leave a hyperlink down below to my second channel, which is called the Speed Learner Instagram Reviews. And what I'm going to do, and what I have been doing, well, you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to, okay, is I've been going through their channels, and if I sub for sub them, and they actually have videos on their channels, I've been reviewing them. And I'm going to post those reviews on my Speed Learner Instagram Reviews channel. And you will see that very, very soon. Matter of fact, you'll probably see that tonight, because I've already taped a couple of them. And I'm going to tape a lot more. And after I videotape these reviews of their videos, I'm going to send them hyperlinks to my videos, which are responses to theirs, and let them watch it. That's an instant view right there. It really is, because they really, when you review one of their videos, they're going to get curious as to what you actually had to say. And it also increases duration time, because they're going to want to know everything you had to say about their video. See what I mean? So, now, when it comes to my particular YouTube channel, I have 3 different types of students. Now, some of my students are very, very smart, and they're pretty much ready for me to give them more advanced topics. And that's great, and that's wonderful, and that's fantastic, and I'm just about ready to give them some more advanced topics. Then I have some of my students that are just now finished learning how to count change. One of my most popular videos right now is counting change. And they've just gotten out of that, and they're starting to learn these more complex topics. And they're slowly advancing. And then I have some of my students that are just starting out with things like counting change, and they're starting out with some of my simpler stuff, and they're moving up from there. And that's fine. Okay? So, some of my students are very advanced, some of them are not. Okay? And they are slowly moving up the ranks. Which is a good thing, because if they're trying to develop a YouTube channel, they're trying to become a content creator, they're going to have lots of great ideas, and the best way to do that is to learn a lot of topics. And when you learn a lot of stuff, you come up with all kinds of brilliant ideas. I can tell you that right now. So anyway, but I do deal with some people. Like I said, some of the people I deal with are very brilliant. Others, not so much. Okay? One of the problems I deal with on this YouTube channel is I have some of my students that have a tough time visualizing things. Let me illustrate. I stand here and I tell them, hey, have you ever seen a Clydesdale horse? And they're like, well, I've never seen a Clydesdale horse in my life. I'm then scratching my head going, you know, with all the Budweiser commercials that are out there, not only on television but on the internet these days, you're telling me you have never seen a Clydesdale horse? Yeah, that's right. I'm like, okay, that doesn't exactly go kosher here. So anyway, this is the kind of thing I run into all the time. Now, like I said, some of my students are really good. They already know what a Clydesdale horse is, and they've gone well past that. But some of them really have a visualization problem. And it gets worse because, let me try it this way with you. As you will plainly see, I have 2 dimes and a nickel, 2 dimes and a nickel in my left hand. I also have 2 dimes and a nickel in my right hand. As you will plainly see, I can tip my hand like this. Okay? And if you didn't see it, well, just take my word for it. I got 2 dimes and a nickel in one hand and 2 dimes and a nickel in the other. Okay? They have a tough time visualizing a scale. I'm not kidding you on this. Even though they have seen Lady Justice they have a statue of Lady Justice at the Supreme Court, at the United States Supreme Court. She's holding a set of scales. But yet they've never seen a set of scales. That's when I start scratching my head like, what? What, are you kidding me? Now, let's just suppose I remove a dime out of my right hand. And then I ask them what I would have to place in my right hand to make it even with my left hand. They don't know. And I'm sitting going, but I just took a dime out of my right hand. Why don't you just place the dime back into my right hand, and then the amount that's in my right hand will be equal to the amount in my left hand. Now, if you want to equal things out through subtraction, all you have to do is take a dime out of my left hand, and you'll have the same amount in both hands. But they have a tough time visualizing this kind of thing. And this is what makes them have difficulties finding decent paying work, because they can't visualize stuff like this. I'm not kidding you. And I deal with other things at the same time. They'll look at a computer screen, and I tell them to fill in the name and the address and the city and the state fields. And what's the response to me? Well, a field is where they grow grain. Well, there are computer fields as well. They're known as like text boxes. Well, they're not like they are text boxes, okay? Those fields are text boxes, but they're actually called fields. And they're computer fields, okay? But they can't visualize that. I have difficulty with these people on another level as well. I'm not kidding you on this. When I show them a kiosk screen and I ask them to touch the upper left corner of the screen, they will touch any other corner except that one. I have people that go through this all the time. Now, if they're going through this kind of difficulty all the time, then it makes it very difficult for them to create content for YouTube. It literally holds them back. Another thing I deal with, and I'm not kidding you on this, let me do this one for you. They have a tough time visualizing this as well. I'm not kidding. Now, you ask any 8-year-old to draw a picture of the sun, and what that 8-year-old's going to do is draw a picture something like this. See that? Now then, here's the thing. These here are called rays. You can ask a kid this anytime you want. Well, what are these? And they'll say, well, that's a sun ray. Well, okay, that's fine. But then, when you tell them that the words radius and radian if you tell them that the words radius and radian are derived from the word ray, they get confused. I am not kidding you. They can't associate that. Now, after a while, when I tutor them, then they can, but at first, that's impossible to them. And then they wonder why they can't acquire higher paying gainful employment. Well, there's your reason. See what I mean? So, the tips you're giving out on this YouTube thing won't work real well with these people. You see what I mean? This is the kind of problem I run into on a regular basis. And you say, what's the problem with that? Well, the problem with that is this. When you tell them to share their the hyperlinks of their videos on their friends' YouTube, well, not YouTube channels, but their friends' Facebook pages, they don't know how Facebook operates. How are they going to share the hyperlinks of their videos on their friends' Facebook pages if they don't know how Facebook operates? All they know how to do is click this, click this, click this. That's all they know. Click this and click this and click this. That's all they know. You see, that doesn't help them very much. And then you ask them to have video editing software. Well, you know, a lot of people that get on YouTube don't have a whole lot of money to work with. They barely can afford a computer, much less having video editing software. Now, I know that if you go with the Linux operating system, you can get a lot of video editing freeware. I know you can do that, but a lot of people don't know how to operate Linux, so they turn to Windows, and then they pay for all this software. You see, it leads them into quite a little quandary. And let's not forget to mention that they can't always afford the best-looking camera. See what I mean? I mean, right now, I'm running a Kodak EasyShare that I've owned for about 5 years. So you see where some of these problems come in? And let me tell you something. Some of these people work 40-hour work weeks. Now you say, well, that's not a big deal. It can be. It literally can be, because some workplaces make you work from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 10 o'clock at night, and then turn back around and work at 8 o'clock in the morning and work all the way to 5 in the afternoon. And they do this to you about 2 to 3 times a week. By that time, you got tons of jet lag. I'm not kidding you. You become a literal Rip Van Winkle. So you take the precious little time you have. Now keep in mind, some of these people have families and they have to do household chores and the whole 9 yards. So they get that precious little time to make a video. And then you're expecting them to put descriptions and tags and all this other stuff in there? They don't have time for all that. And then to edit it so it looks real fancy too? Doesn't work that way. Now, there are ways to make this happen, and that's what I'm trying to do right now because I happen to have a little more time than others. So, and I want to add one more thing to this. Not only do these people not only have to work with all this jet lag and have families and do chores and have precious little time to make these videos, but on top of that, what if they suffer an infirmity on top of that? Maybe they're not in the best of health. That makes things a lot more complicated. So I know where these people are coming from. And I know how desperate they are to get ratings. Because financially speaking, they're not always in the best of conditions. That's what they turned to YouTube for in the first place. See if they could finally get themselves out of poverty. Which is a good idea. If they can utilize various skills and put them all together. But they don't have time to sit there, make sure they got a decent camera, which they may or may not be able to acquire, then get nice video editing software, then on top of that, to put some description down below, bunch of tags, and then try to promote it all over their friends' Facebook pages. They don't have time for all that. That's why they need somebody like me to come around and help them out. And let me tell you something. When I stand there and I ask them questions about their videos, it really helps them out. So, like I say, your tips are really nice, unless, of course, you calculate all the extra things that some of these people have to go through. They may not have time to apply all your little skills. And as I clearly demonstrated with the Taylorville Festival of Lights, applying all those skills didn't necessarily get me a ton of views. It got me views, no questions asked, but it didn't give me a ton of them. I wasn't suddenly standing on 10,000 views, and it's not because people don't like Christmas or they don't like the Taylorville Festival of Lights. It's just that it wasn't enough. And sometimes you have to use sub for sub on top of everything else to get all that. So it's not that I'm saying that they shouldn't use descriptions, that they shouldn't use tags. I'm just saying that you're saying that that is better than the sub for sub, and not necessarily. I partially disagree with that. Some of the people I subbed to that finally subbed back to me actually watched that video and gave us some ratings, gave us some thumbs up, left comments on it. So like I say, sub for sub is not necessarily a bad thing. I just don't feel like everybody should use it as a crutch. That's bad. It should not be the only tool you deploy to get ratings. But some of that sub for sub actually paid off. Not all of it, but some of it did. So I do partially disagree with you on the sub for sub business. So I feel that as long as people don't use sub for sub as some kind of a crutch, there should be no problem. I will agree with you on one thing, though, that video responses are a better way to go and should be a preferred method. As a matter of fact, another YouTuber actually suggested a share for share, which I really like. That idea, that really went over with me. You make a video on your YouTube channel and you ask one of your YouTube friends to share that video on theirs, and then likewise they make a video and they ask you to share it on your channel, and you do, and you do a share for share on videos. I think it's a great idea. I really do. Now, another thing I'm going to try, like I said, sub for sub is not my only tool. I use several tools, and as you can see, the Video Response Wars is another tool, and like I said, I'm going through the people I'm already subscribed to, and I'm going to review their videos and try to get them some ratings. But another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find some very unique videos, something that I know everybody's going to watch, and I'm going to review those as well. And I'm going to let you know the results of that in a future video. And I hope you continue watching here for my students video, because in one of them I'm going to tell you the results of the next step I'm going to take. Because I'm going to review some videos that I know are going to get ratings. And I'll let you know how successful I was with that. So anyway, I welcome you to continue watching my videos and let me know what you think. And I know you are going to disagree about the sub for sub thing, but like I said, I did meet some nice people, and it did give me some ratings, and it got me a couple of contestants in my video response wars, so it wasn't a total loss. But I will agree on one thing. I didn't just say sub for sub. I said sub for sub and also check out my channel. And they did. Not everybody did, but a lot of them did. And I got likes, and I got views, and I got comments on my videos. So it was not a total loss. And many of them stayed with me. So there you go. Anyway, you're welcome to disagree with me. You're welcome to respond to this. I'd like to hear your video response to this. Alright. Now, I grant you, like I said, when I did my sub for sub, it was a lot different than what other people are doing. And maybe that's the key. I didn't do it the same way as everybody else, so that's why they responded a little bit better. So, like I said, I'd like to hear your response. And hopefully you will stay tuned and you will watch one of my future For My Students videos to see what next trick I pulled to try to get ratings. And I guarantee you it will get ratings. Alright, I will tell you more in a future video, so I would like each and every one of you to stay tuned. And for the rest of my students, continue learning. The more you learn from me, the better your videos are going to be, and so on and so forth. Alright, so let's just cut this short. This is Ted the Speed Learner signing off. I hope everybody has a great week and a great Christmas. Please keep giving me the feedback. I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, I would like each and every one of you to stay tuned.